Hey everyone, welcome back, and today we are taking a look at possibly the craziest game of the Tata Steel Masters. This game is played between the Azeri Grandmaster Teimour Radjabov and Indian Grandmaster Vidit Gujrathi. Rajabov had white pieces in this game, and without further ado, let's jump right into the game. Radjabov opened with d4, knight to f6 from Vidit, c4, e6, knight f3, d5, the queen's gambit decline, knight c3, bishop b4, Vidit goes for the Ragozin defense, queen a4 check, knight c6, e3, castles from black, queen back to c2, rook e8, bishop d2 breaking the pin, and here bishop to d6. So bishop d6 has actually been played before, but not at the top level. And I suppose the idea is that black wants to keep this bishop on a better diagonal, which would pressure h2 if white decides to castle kingside. And this bishop also helps to support this e5 break. So now Radjabov played h3, waiting to see what black does. He could develop the bishop, but black is going to take. So here bishop takes c4, white kind of wasted a tempo. So Radjabov first played h3, Vidit played a6, so that stops knight b5. a3, so Radjabov goes for a similar idea, stopping knight b4. Bishop d7, we have bishop e2, now Vidit took, and h6 from Vidit. So in this position, e5 is the move that black hopes to achieve. But with the bishop on c4, f7 would then become a target. White might even play knight g5 right away. And this bishop cannot be chased off the diagonal, it can simply drop back to a2. So Vidit played h6, just securing the g5 square before proceeding with e5. So Radjabov hasn't yet committed his king in this position, and since black has just moved one of his kingside pawns, Radjabov decided to go for it. He played g4. Vidit played e5, meeting an attack on the flanks with a break in the center. Radjabov continued with g5, b5 from Vidit, bishop to a2. So if the knight is taken, black would gladly play b takes c4, getting rid of that strong attacking bishop. So Radjabov keeps the bishop, bishop to a2, and here e takes d4 from Vidit. So maybe knight takes was the most challenging continuation, but over the board this is incredibly difficult to calculate. The knight is attacking the queen and the knight on f3, so white is pretty much forced to recapture. So we could have something like this over the board, queen e7 threatening mate. So knight takes d4, h takes g5, bishop e3 to try and block this dangerous file, bishop to f4 with a very sharp game. So after the move queen e7 threatening mate, castling queenside is also possible, but somehow this allows black to lessen white's initiative on the king side. Here black can take on e2, knight takes d4, if g takes f6 then d3, closing the diagonal and also stopping queen to g6. So here queen takes f3, f takes g7, and this pawn actually helps to shield the black king from danger, and it's soon going to be black's turn to attack with c5 and b4. So here, if knight takes d4, then queen to e4, trying to diffuse the tension in the position with a queen trade. So if that is taken, then the tension will be reduced. So here if g takes f6, then you can take on d4 and play rook e2, threatening bishop to f4. So let's say white makes a pass with h4, bishop to f4, and this bishop cannot be taken because then rook takes c2 check, and black would be up a whole lot of material. So let's say king to b1, then queen to f6, stopping queen to g6. Black is also defending h6, And at the same time, he is threatening bishop to f5, which would pin the queen. So enough of these variations, let's go back to the game. In the game, e takes d4 plate instead of knight takes d4. But here white can just ignore the hanging knight, and Radjabov played g takes h6. So rook to g1 is also a good move. So white would give up the knight, play bishop takes c3 with a very strong initiative. So you can see here that everything is just pointed towards black's king. But here Rajabov played g takes h6. So here d takes c3. Bishop takes c3. I should mention that, let's go back a few moves. Here if the knight is taken, black is completely fine after queen takes f6. Black will soon regain one of the knights, or even just take on e3 to try and open up the white king. So going back to the main position, bishop e6 played by Vidit to stop queen g6. So that was taken, rook takes e6, rook to g1 just piling up on g7. And we have knight to e8. So you might be wondering, why not g6? White can actually take and crash through to the black king. And here knight g5, threatening mate on f7, also attacking the rook. So that is why Vidit played knight to e8. We have bishop takes g7. So pawn takes would be a mistake because the black king can now use this g7 pawn as protection against white's forces. So that is why bishop takes g7, knight takes g7, rook takes g7, king to f8, the only move. If king h8, then checkmate with queen to h7. So here Rajabov played queen to h7, entering the position, queen to f6, defending f7 and also attacking the knight. So now knight to g5, attacking the rook, also putting more pressure on f7. And rook takes e3 from Vidit, the only move to try and keep things going for black. So king to f1 plate, the only move which keeps white's initiative. If the rook is taken, then this is going to end in perpetual if both sides play accurately. So here white's king cannot escape. So king to f1, and we have knight to d8, defending f7. So here queen g8 check, king to e7, and h7 from Radjabov, simply threatening the queen. Bishop g3, Vidit tries to stir up some trouble, now threatening mate on f2. So knight e4 is forced, defending. Rook takes e4, and now white eliminates the bishop, rook takes g3. So now Vidit has to try and stop this pawn. He plays rook to h4. So now Radjabov played rook to d1, so I think he preferred this move as opposed to rook to e1, because rook to d1 just keeps the black king trapped in the center. So now rook takes h7. Taking with queen takes h7 is definitely good for white, but here Radjabov decides to throw in a check. He plays rook to e3 check, knight to e6, and then queen takes a8. Rook h8 from Vidit, we have queen to c6, threatening queen takes c7. So here white's pieces are all excellently placed, and being up and exchanged, this looks already hopeless for Vidit. So now Vidit played king to f8, unpinning the knight. And now the killer blow from Radjabov, rook takes e6. Queen takes e6 plate. So if f takes e6, then rook to d7. And black has no good defense for queen to a8. If king e8, simply rook c7, queen a8, and this is soon going to be mate. So in this position, Vidit played queen takes e6. But now rook d8 check, king g7, queen to c3, skewering king and rook. So f6 was played, but this only delays the inevitable. Now queen takes c7 check, and it was in this position that Vidit resigned. White will soon capture the rook on h8, and it's going to be game over. So an absolutely brilliant game from Rajabov, showing that he is still one of the top players in the world. So at the moment there are 5 players leading the tournament. They are Magnus Carlsen, Anish Giri, Jana Pomniachtchi, Viswanathan Anand, and Ding Liren. So I hope you enjoyed this crazy attacking game. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.